Hi, and welcome everyone back to another day of this wonderful conference that is directed so that you can create a legacy in your life, with your family, and in your businesses. So my name is Marianne and Clair, and this is the Women's Sovereign Legacy Conference. And today I have a special treat for you, Sue Shalley. Yay! My
Good
friend
morning.
and dear friend, Sue Shalley. And Sue's going to really take us through an interesting conversation that I think is so powerful for women. Today in this world of being able to ask for anything. Who doesn't want to have some tools to be able to ask for anything? So Sue, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing in the world.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me, Marianne. And hello, everybody. I'm honored to be here. Thank you. When I was a little girl, I didn't want to be anything but a business lady. And so I always thought that I was great at meeting people, but I wanted to be in business and I thought I was a wonderful salesperson, and I have been through my life, luckily. I think more than anything, I was persistent. I was not giving up when I was going after something. And I do believe that that's been one of the keys, or that is one of the keys to, for all of us, especially when we're in business or we're taking our purpose or our mission forward. And Marianne asked about challenges, and I think women have, I know perhaps you've heard this, or certainly you must feel it, but women, I think, have challenges that are a little different than other people do, other than men, because I still believe that in many regards we're brought up to take care of everyone and not always put ourselves in perspective or take good care of ourselves. For me, one of the hardest things that it's been, well, see, let me stop. I've had many businesses, and some were not so successful, some were very successful. And so that failure, I learned to be past the shame of that, and that to understand that it's really a journey. It wasn't the destination. And so it's helped me get to where I am now. And I own a multi-million dollar business that we started from scratch. My husband and I started it, and luckily he's retired, so I get to run it the way I believe is the correct way. And we've really grown it. And so through all of these adventures of starting businesses and making them succeed and giving my heart to them, at one point I said, wait a minute, is this all there is? Is this it? And I've learned that it's also a journey of loving myself. It's not just loving on my customers and my employees and my product, but I think that it's really been the journey to love myself. And I do believe that that's one of the hardest things that we all go through, especially women. I don't know about you, but I, as I said, was brought up to take care of everyone else and to work harder. And so part of this journey also has been to learn that it's okay to work with ease, and that I am worthy and I am sparkly and special. And I bring really fun, silly, um, I've learned to be really authentic things to the business. And I think one of my biggest accomplishments, and I wish this for all of us, is to quit worrying about what people think of me. Like I'd go on sales calls and I wouldn't think it was perfect. And I'd say, oh, they won't like me. It's like, wait a minute. Does it really matter? The real question is do I like myself?
Mm,
And thank you to Marianne, my dear friend, and also my muse and coach. She has so helped me get to that point. Um, I'm very grateful. And so I think that those are some of the challenges that we face. And
I
um,
think I think you're right, Sue. I think I'm going to stop you for just a second because I think
please.
you really touched on, first and foremost, to show up authentically is to love ourselves. And if we are always focused on everybody else and what we can do to get a sale to make money, to give to our families, to make everybody happy, I think we need to first turn it here and begin to build up our own energy, our own cups, I say, and begin to love ourselves so that we're showing up powerfully. So we're showing up in a way that makes us feel and come across to somebody else as, full, whole, and complete, that they can know, like, and trust us as we're, embarking on, asking them for something. I think it's before the asking for something, we have to first fill our cup up, and then you talk about a why. So can you kind of take us there on the journey of why our why is important?
I'd love to. And thank you, Marianne, for what you said. And Marianne always brings me back to this really great place. And I know she does for everyone around her. I wanted to say that, yes, we want to love ourselves and value ourselves. And that sounds like beautiful, wonderful words, but it's not always that simple. And we learn and go forward and learn a little bit every day. And Marianne asked me about my why, or your why. And so to be in business, or to live your purpose, or to go forth and want to achieve your goals, I think one of the most important things is to really understand, why am I doing that? Why? What's my why? Because I can tell you for sure, and I'm sure you've experienced it, that when you talk about maybe opening a business, or that you have a passion, there will always be, as my friend Deborah Poneman says, the discouragement committee that will say, oh, you can't do that, or that's a bad idea, or what were you thinking, or no, thank you. Thanks for calling, but I'm not interested. Click. And so when you can come back to your why am I doing this? Why am I passionate about it? And you hold on to that, it makes it much easier to keep going. I want to talk about that even in a broader sense. It's not only why you want to do it and holding on real tight when someone turns you down. To me, your why also is part of your legacy. If you are really clear why you want to do something, it's part of your legacy. And then I also think it's important to incorporate or infuse your why and your business or your mission with your core values. I want to go back to why for a moment. Why doesn't have to be this really big, glorious, esoteric thing. It can be, I want to make money. I want to travel. Sure, all of us have that. And then it can be, I want to serve my customers. I want to love on my customers. I want to take my product because I believe in it so much. But be real. I mean, why would you want to be in business if you weren't wanting to make money or prosper or succeed? You might as well give it away and make it easier if you weren't saying also, it's okay to say, I want to make money. I want to buy a house. I want to go to Spain, whatever it may be. But then it's all those other things too
Castle
that
back
come from
there.
your heart. Pardon?
I
See
said the
Spain, you
castle
might
back
need to want
there.
to go back
That's
there.
that's one of her whys, that, as to take this part. Let's slow down there for just a second, because you hit on something that's really important for me, and I know it's important for you. And as businesses right now are coming online more, and there's been many people over these past 10 years that have, entrepreneurs who have done their businesses online. But being able really to create a business where you can be online and you can travel and you can, if that's what you want to do, then there's no better way than to really put that in your why. As it's a huge core value for me. It's a huge value, is to become free and mobile and be able to do what I want to do when I want to do it, set up my schedule the way I want to. And I don't know if that's important to some of you, but it's really important to me, not to have a 9 to 5, not to be stuck in one place. And so that's a huge why. I want to go travel to Spain with Sue. So we're going
That's
to do
what
that
we're all
because it's
about
on both
also.
of our legacy. It's on both of our, big core values that we want to travel and go have fun.
Right. So me too. We're going. You're all invited. I speak Spanish, so I can help, and I know what we want to eat.
There we go.
Okay.
There we go.
So I want to go back to also core values. So certainly your
Mhm.
why is why are you doing it? Why do you want to take your purpose or your business or your product forward? But also, what are your core values? For Marianne, it's ease, and it's also making ease and love across her whole family and her community. For me, it is that I want to create opportunities for people and to really help them sparkle. But I want to sparkle too. I want kindness and compassion to be that's part of my core values also. And one of the things that I learned in the last year is that is part of my core values and part of my purpose is a concept that I learned in a very scary point in my life of more, please. May I talk about that, Marianne?
Yes, please, please, because listen to her say it. And then I'm going to say it. And then I really want you to feel the vibration of those words because every time I go and say it, it just brings me to this new place. So say it, Sue, and then I'm going to say it.
More, please, please.
Yeah.
And it's not just more, please, it's thank you for where I am, or thank you for the money in, thank you for the money out, more, please. And so I'll tell you the story where it came about. We had $300,000 in receivables in my business. That meant we were owed $300,000, and I didn't have enough cash, enough liquidity to make payroll. And not making payroll to me means that you're dishonest. You're not honoring your word to your clients. And I was beside myself. I thought I'd exhausted all of the things that I could come up with. And we called all our clients and say, hey, we need money. And I was just a wreck. And I was in the drive-through of Starbucks and I was listening to a book that I recommend called Money, Love, let's see, Love, Money, Money Loves You by Sarah McCrum. And so when I was listening to it just after ordering my coffee, she felt that money channeled her. So money says, when you ask for more money, we give you more money, but we also give you more bills. And was like, oh. And what that meant to me, and it was an understanding that came forth, is that I was putting out this energy of desperation, just sheer panic, desperation, unhappiness, lack. And so what I somehow was given a gift of being able to say is, thank you for the money in. Thank you for the money out. More, please. And so more, please, believe it or not, we made payroll that week and we've made payroll ever since and our business has really taken off. We've achieved another million in the last year and I also attribute some of that to Marianne's coaching. But the more please to me means that I'm grateful for what I have and I'm worthy of more and I ask for more, please. And if you take the jump, take the leap and ask for more, please. I didn't know how it was going to happen. I thought I'd gone through everything I could think of. And then we made payroll. We got money in. We were solvent. We were liquid. Um,
I think it's releasing that, like you said, your focus was on lack.
back.
You were in a fear place, so you were constricting. And how can you receive when that's where you are? So to me, more please, and every time I say it, I get into this happy vibration. I get into this open vibration. It's like more please, more please, and um
It's
it
not
it
just about money, if I may interrupt you.
no,
It's
yeah,
really become this tool, this mantra, this joyful
yeah,
thing that is like, thank you for my friend Marianne. More friends, please, like
yeah.
Marianne. Or thank you for my silly doggy, she's so fat. More time with my doggy Noni. It could be anything, and it just like Marianne is saying, it keeps you in this place. To me, it's a place of gratitude in addition for asking. And I believe that gratitude is the point that takes you from lack and saying thank you for where you are right now,
Yeah.
takes you to abundance and prosperity and things like that. So that is also what I learned out of that whole lesson is to say thank you.
Yes, and you just hit it. You just hit this wonderful progression of this simple tool. And Sue is all about prospering kindly. And so when you are in this lack place, it could be, even in your health, it could be your finances, it could be um, just like she said, friends or acquaintances or business partners or anything. When you're in,
More cava in Spain, please. More bubbly in Spain, please. Excuse me for interrupting.
yes, yes. So it takes you from where you are, okay, acknowledging that, being where you are, then the gratitude, thank you, here I am, here's the gratitude, and more please. So it sort of allows this progression of going from fear to receiving, this place of fear to open and abundance. And I love it. So go on, give us more.
Well, there's two things that you asked me that I wanted to come back to. Well, three. So we talked about our core values and really
Mhm.
understanding what is us, what are we, do we believe in, do we want to go forth with. Another thing is Marianne talks about medicine. To me, I also think it's medicine. What is your medicine and what is your magic? When we first started our business, Field Services Unlimited, the one that has prospered, especially lately, um, it was in the architectural arena, and I didn't know anything about it. I'd just gotten fired from a job that I really liked because I'm a good worker, but a terrible employee.
That's
I'm gonna
okay. That's okay. Not everybody's a good employee.
And so, anyway, we were calling on construction companies or companies that were building new facilities. And I thought, well, okay, what am I going to write about? What am I going to talk about? Because we're new to the business. We don't really have any credentials right now. And I took a step back and I thought, well, as Marianne says, what is my magic? And it's baking and cooking and making homemade gifts. So I sent like half a paragraph brochure because we didn't have much to talk about. And I cold called and I researched. I go to the library every week and read the classified ads from large cities looking for architectural or construction firms that were hiring field workers, basically field surveyors. And I figured, well, if they're hiring, perhaps they would hire us. And so I thought, okay, wait, what can I do? Oh, and so I sent cookies in paint cans to them. And it was like, what a leap that was because my husband was like, oh, that's not very corporate. No one will pay any attention. I'm like, but that's my magic. That's the
Your
energy I can
magic
put forth.
also, I'm sorry, Sue, is the one way to and that's a men's business, a male dominated business. One way to a man's heart is through his stomach. So
Well, and it would be like we'd show up at appointments and my husband would be like, you brought those cans of cookies. They're so heavy. How do we get through security? Blah, blah, blah. And so we'd put them in front of people and they were all gone. Ooh, and so like you said, the way to a man's heart, but it was also this personal, we thought of them. And so I think that that was my magic and all of us have magic. Do we write well? Do we speak well? Do we make beautiful things? Are we silly? Are we funny? I mean, think of what you're really good at. And we can,
yeah,
Marianne will help you bring that forth. I can help you bring that forth. And I think that that also goes to the point of your legacy. Um, so your legacy isn't just your achievements of what you did in your life as far as the things that other people can measure, as far as business or sales or whatever philanthropy, earning lots of money. It's also who you are and what your magic is. So for me, I hope my legacy is that I'm fun and kind and compassionate, and that I make you smile, and that I create opportunities, and that I've been on a journey and I'm growing up and becoming someone who loves myself. So your legacy is not just what you did, and that's really important.
yes,
And
yes, yes.
okay, and I want to go back to something you, if I
Mhm.
may,
Yes.
if I interrupt you.
No,
Is to talk
I've
about
interrupted
calls.
you, so
Oh, poor even. Yay.
yay.
Some of it is, Marianne asked about tools. What are your tools when you're scared or you're like, oh gosh, I have days truly, having been a salesperson all my life and a business lady, where the thought of picking up the phone or writing an email or finding someone on LinkedIn, I'm just like, do I have to do that today? It's not, it's still work. It's not work in a negative way, but you have to put forth that effort. It's not just envisioning, it's not just having a vision board. It's like, go do the work. And so one of the tools that I have in my head is I think of going after what I want as far as in business or raising money or whatever it is. I think of a piece of conduit. And I think, okay, now I'm going to stuff this conduit with as many reach outs as I possibly can until the appointments and then the sales start dropping out the other end. And when I'm really grumpy, I think, okay, what's going to drop out the other end? Well, sales, but also some English toffee and some Cheetos. You know, just say something. What do I really in the mood for today? Maybe some little bottles of champagne will drop out, or English toffee, or someone saying yes. But you still have to work. You still can't just envision. You still have to make that effort, but make it fun. Think of things that would just give you a lift that day as you're going forth. And I know that sometimes going forward and asking for business, that's scary. I have a friend who says people will think I'm greedy if I ask for their business. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Wait a minute. You know what sales is, or what giving a service is? It's a sacred exchange of energy. And
Yes.
so it's not just that you're asking or being mercenary, but when you sell, you're giving energy and income to the people who provided the project. You're giving energy and loving on your customers when you're giving them the best service and your best product. You're giving love and energy to yourself. So, sales, if you can keep that in mind, it's a sacred endeavor. Taking your product forth is a sacred endeavor.
And I feel like you've touched on something so rich there that, so often we think, it's a shift from what am I giving? What am I here to give? And rather than what am I here to get, And when we can make that shift to knowing that what I have, if I hold it back and I don't shout it to the rooftops, if I don't give it or make those calls or make those connections, who might, with my me first movement and that, who might check out, who might not, well, but seriously, it's like, who might, not not like receive the benefit of a little love today, or whatever it is. So I think when we withhold, because that's what it ultimately
There's a
it
one of my favorite quotes, excuse me, is by Jen Sincero, and she wrote, "You are a badass." A
yeah,
book
love
about
her books.
making it fun, getting where you want to go. But she says something that has always resonated with me. When you don't love yourself or believe in yourself, you let the whole world down.
Yes.
And so that's exactly what you're saying. And it's really true. We're all here to love and be loved and to give our magic out and to get back. You know, it's this really big exchange.
And I think where we get a little lost in the whole process is, our own fear of rejection, our own fear of what somebody might think, what somebody might feel towards us. Like you said, your friend felt like, somebody might be thinking she's, gonna, I don't know, try to shove something down her throat, or greedy.
Exactly.
It's not about being greedy. If we don't ask for, if we don't walk up with confidence and conviction and feel like we might be stopping someone from receiving the thing that's going to make them $1 million. You know, us holding back is stopping everyone from prospering kindly, is how
A,
I look at it.
a friend of Marianne and I, we have a friend named Alan Davidson, and he says it really, really beautifully. He says sales and offering products is a love story to
Yeah.
your clients and to yourself. And that touches me so much, and I keep that in mind also. Like Marianne is saying, maybe if you don't present, someone needed to hear that today. And it's a love story. It's taking your heart and your passion that you love and offering it to other people. And so I keep that in mind also. That's one of my tools too. And then I'd like to go back to some tools because we don't mean to make this sound really easy. Asking for things is challenging and is frightening sometimes. And um,
Isn't it our own battle though, Sue? Isn't it a lot of times our own internal battle that's going on? It's, go ahead. I'm sorry.
yes, certainly. And it goes to what we talked about earlier, loving yourself, valuing yourself. I mean, one of my histories, my staff used to make fun of me. Oh, Sue talked to the client. How much did she give away? Are we going to be profitable? Ugh. And it was because I didn't value myself, nor I didn't value my product. And I just didn't have the confidence at that time to take that leap. But that's the whole thing. Take the leap. What's the worst? This is one of the things that I go through when I'm really going after a big client like Starbucks was a big win for me, and it took a lot of courage. And what was the worst thing that was going to happen as I went after them? Go through that in your head. Was I going to die if they said no? No, I don't believe so. Were they going to put my name on a blacklist? Don't ever listen to this woman again. Hell no. Excuse my language. Hell no, they weren't going to say that. They were scarcely going to remember that I'd called them because they're so busy. Was it that it wasn't really about me? How did I know that? It could have been that that the person I was calling on was having a terrible day, and it had nothing to do with me. It was about them. So being told to no, it wasn't all necessarily about me. And what was the worst thing? Well, really nothing, except that it hurt my feelings and made me wonder my value. But it also gave me a chance to say, maybe I wouldn't say it that way again, because that was always one of the other things. I go, oh, you screwed up. You should have said it this way, blah, blah, blah. It's like, stop. Wait a minute, Sue. How would I say it differently? Did that feel good to me? Would I have listened? So that's a tool I think, and that
Yeah.
seems a little out there, but it is really true.
No,
Um,
it's to learn. It's to always be a student. It's always to, I think, to look at what we did right, because so often we can look at, oh my gosh, I didn't get the sale. Like you said, you can beat yourself up. But what did I do right? And then what can I learn from what happened? And then how can I perfect it and make it a little better?
well, I
Oh,
think the other thing that we do is that for some reason, at least I did this, is I thought that my first call I was going to make the sale, and if I didn't or get the appointment at least, I was a failure. Wait a minute. Who said we had to go from 0 to 100 miles an hour in
yeah.
one turning over the ignition? Sales, and like all of our lives, is a series of little steps and little wins. And so I want to have a party. So not only am I aiming for that English toffee coming out of my pipeline, but it's like every little step. So the first one is did I do the research on social media to understand? Because if you use LinkedIn as your tool, it's this wealth of information. So I'll do a search. It's got the best search engine, and it'll say, who are you looking for? What are you looking for? And I'll say, director of construction or director of architecture or design, and it will come up with all these people. Or if I'm going after Starbucks, I will say director of design for Starbucks, and then I see all those people. And then, or if I know someone in particular, then I'll read down to the bottom of their profile. And if you read all the way down, well, first of all, you can learn about them. They'll say their birthday and their likes and where they went to school and things like that. But if you keep reading, also they may have recommended someone or they may have gotten an endorsement from someone else. If you read through those, you'll learn the language that is important in their industry, how they describe it. And the other thing is you'll hear their pain. Like I have read one, and an endorsement said, he's always on time, he never misses a deadline, he always comes in on budget. And those are pretty simple, pretty standard, but you can learn those languages as you're talking. And that to me is one of the tools of sales, is do your preparation. Go knowing what that person is important, what their pain is. And then when I first started selling, I would go, oh, and we can do blah, 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 blah. And I'd be like,
Thinking about
awesome.
you,
Yeah,
making
exactly.
it about you instead of the person.
Marianne said I threw up all over them. But it's really the relationship. And that's when I would go, whoa, if I made enough of those calls, I'd hit my sales goals, but it didn't feel great. It didn't feel rewarding. And I didn't make that sacred connection.
There
And
you go. There you go. It's
we
that
know
building rapport, building relationships, building and making that sacred connection, making that heart to heart connection. Ah, so rich, Sue. So, so rich.
Thanks. Well, it's loving on them. And then I still will call people that are retired just to check in. And, part of it is I want to know of who took their place. But I genuinely want to know how they're doing. And I'll say, well, how's your daughter? Did she finish medical school? And always the response is, you remember that? Yes, I remember because I thought you were important to me. And so that has probably been one of the best tools that all of us can use in sales or in our lives. And it's enriching us. It enriches. Got it.
Yeah. My
It's
tongue twisters too. My tongue gets twisted too, Sue.
I think that other tools are, well, to celebrate your little steps. Remember that each one, even when you got to know, was a step. So I have one of my best tools is, I don't know if you know the song, She Drives Me Crazy by Fine Young Cannibals, but I have that going
Yes.
on. And kind of jump around the house, or Wooly Bully, or go pet the dog, or just.
Oh, Woolly Bully. That's a fun one.
And Marianne always says, Sue, breathe, stop and breathe. Just breathe and take a moment. So that is
That
also.
brings us back to presence. That brings us back to this moment, because I think we get so busy, go, 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 go. Even if, on to the next, on to the next. Oh, hurry, I got to get on to the next. But really taking a moment and breathing and looking at what kind of connection am I making? What kind of connection do I want to make on this next call? Who do I want to be, right, Sue? It's like, and then when you get off, do the Woolly Bully happy dance, and it all puts it sort of together. It like weaves this wonderful love net that you're putting out so many of these connections and weaving this net that they're going to start just pinging like balls eventually, and making such lovely things to celebrate.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that is really an important tool, we've already touched on it, and I know when I'm teaching sales, people are like, teach me how to overcome objections. Really, do we have to start with our why? Let's get on to the stuff I don't know how to do, but go back to your basics. Go back to the thing you're going to hold on to, that you know why you're doing it, why it's important, what you're going to give out, and how it matches your core value. And then the other part is, what is your magic? What are you bringing? What makes you sparkle? What are you sharing? And I know that that's not as sexy or as challenging as knowing how to overcome objections, but yet it does help you stay on track and celebrate yourself. And that's why when I'm teaching sales, I always start there. It's really essential. And it also allows you to celebrate yourself. Gosh, I got an appointment. And, like I said a moment ago, when you're doing sales, it's a series of little steps. So the first one is knowing what you're about, knowing who you are and what your product is. Then do your research and know how you compare. Look at all your competition. Look at all the language that they're saying about themselves. Go ahead and copy some of that. Not exactly, but get really good ideas. And And one of the things that Mary and I both know is what is our elevator pitch. So distill it down so someone you can say it in one sentence. And that took me a really long time for Field Services Unlimited because nobody understands what architectural field surveys are. So I have to ride the elevator to the top floor because it takes a little long. But no, so you can really be succinct. And then, okay, so you did your research, you identified your client that you think would be a good prospect. That's a win. Write them an email. I think using social media, there's three touches. First one is send them an email and say, join my network. And then after that, I call it a ditty. Send them something that is real brief in their email that has an interesting title. Because I'm in the architecture construction industry, one of my most successful ones was to say, change order me not. Because in construction,
Mm,
if you've misbid or things don't go right, then there's change orders and unhappy clients. So that was my ditty, change order me not, or the
mm.
bold promise, or the 100% guarantee, but things like that. And then also you can send a really brief video via LinkedIn talking about, so for us, I'll be putting out cookies on a platter, saying, you know, we mind the little details and I'm the cooking lady still, and talk a little bit about the business. And so there's fun things you can do that behind the video is safe, you know, because no one's going to yell at you. Not that we mind when they are and hang up. That's okay. I didn't mean to make it sound too negative, but it's just
No,
ways.
but what's coming to mind is to put you in the process. So you doing the video, sometimes we think we've got to be so serious on LinkedIn, we've got to be so serious in our sales. But I think when we invite somebody in, I had an interview the other day with another amazing woman. Her name's Kelly Littery, and she is a tango dancer. And so her programs are to dance with life. And so I was like, oh, Kelly, I love your videos down in Buenos Aires where you're on the balcony and the wind's blowing. And we started talking about me living on the farm. And she goes, I'm living in the city and the concrete. She goes, I would love to be on the farm where you are. And she goes, what do you mean you don't have content? You have lots of content. So I go out and I take pictures of me and the girls as we're going out feeding the cows in the afternoon. And, you know, all dolled up and we're all like, you know, throwing hay to the cows. And it's like, you know, it's bringing people into your world. It's letting them know you're real, and you sitting there doing the thing with the cookies just makes me think of, it doesn't always have to be so stodgy and business-like. Invite people into your world, make that connection. Like you said, find out about their daughter going to college or that graduation from med school, or find out those heart-to-heart connections. Because for me, when I sold um, advertising years ago, I had the smallest territory. And I think what made me so successful as number two in sales was that I had time to make those connections. I had time to sit down and really get to know my people. And I think that's something we don't think we can do on social media, but it's something we can do. It's vital.
And I think that also, you know, when you're doing research, and one of the things about when someone says no or I'm not interested, there's a series of steps that we can talk about at some point. But it's also having some case studies, having say, oh, my friend was struggling with the same thing, and we worked on it and talked about it. And Marianne and I are doing this diet right now. That's very challenging.
She is. I'm not.
um, and so when our
But I've
friend,
learned a lot and I've implemented a lot. So you can take pieces of what works for you and other things that don't work for you and then build upon it. Love yourself more. And that's what I've done. And that's what I've chosen to do.
well, and when our friend was presenting this to us, we were both like, ugh, really? Another kind of diet. But she was able to say she had a case study. pardon me, said, I had a friend who didn't want to do it. In the first week, she called and yelled at me. At least she sent me flowers, but she called and yelled. But at the end, she was able to feel like she could make decisions. It's like have a little bit of a case study, but then the other important part of all of this is to listen, to stop, to listen, and to really hear. You know, when you're talking about someone's daughter in med school, it's really easy to say, well, my daughter's in med school too, if it's true, and she's having these problems. Well, you can relate and you know when it's appropriate, but the first thing is stop. Stop and really listen and let them finish. You know, because all of us want to tell our story too, but we need to make sure that we're hearing their story first.
Yes, zip it, zip it. As women, we want to talk, we want to make friends, we want to do everything. And it's important to stop and really listen, make that connection, let them feel important because everybody needs they want to talk. So be that person who can allow them the space and just be there for them is what I try to do.
Going back to tools, so we've talked about your research and really understanding a person's where your product is, what their pain is, what's about them that you can learn, and then the tools in social media or cold calling. And if you're going to cold call, practice before you do it. Don't get on the phone right away. No, I usually don't cold call unless I'm looking for a resource. If I know particularly who the person is, I don't call them first. I'll use social media, then I'll cold call. And then the other thing is that it takes a while to get in a groove if you're cold calling. So doing one, you haven't really hit your stride yet. So I was taught that if you're going to be cold calling and making calls, you want to make at least 10 calls because then you've kind of gotten your rhythm, you've kind of finessed or made your language just right. And the other thing is that if you're not an extrovert, and this sounds terrifying, um, then have some things in your arsenal. And one of the best ones I think is have some silly jokes. I was interviewing someone one time for a job, and he at the end of the interview said, "What does a fish say when he swims into a wall? Damn." I remember him and I remember the joke, even though it was pretty corny. But if you have some things like that that make you feel comfortable, if you're feeling ill at ease or you're feeling shy or just not feeling very safe, go look up some silly jokes or things like that that just kind of bring the level down for yourself and also for your customer. And those are fun. It's like cookies. It's like your joke. Those are really cool things that most people don't think of doing, but they really are just for everybody. Yours for you and the customer.
And I think you hit on a couple things there that doing it over and over takes you from being a beginner, lack of confidence, to where you build your confidence and that builds your competency. That builds your ability to know what you're going to say, pivot when they need to pivot. It allows you to go, well, maybe, and don't forget that just because the person can't do it or isn't going to do it or isn't going to say yes right now, that doesn't mean that next week or next month or next year they won't remember, that they'll remember you and they'll be calling you when they need you. So stay, building your competency, through building your confidence, get in the game, keep going, don't stop, I think is one thing I was hearing, so loudly there.
Yep, make those English toffees drop out of your pipeline, man. Keep
Oh,
going.
just
Don't
like,
stop. Be
and
persistent.
then head to Scotland, right? I mean, to Spain.
To Spain.
And yes, yes.
Yeah, I think that one of the first things I learned as a salesperson was if someone says no to you, my friend who was teaching me said she'd turn around in her chair and do a high five with herself or her dog or whomever is in the room and say, "Thanks for the 25." And what she meant was, "Thanks for the $25 you just saved me because I didn't send out a mailing." And so I think also if we say, thanks for the 25, how much do you make an hour? Hopefully you make $100 an hour so you can, or whatever it is. I don't mean to put any pressure on
Yeah.
any of us, but whatever it is. Thank you for saying no. I'm going to move on. Thank you for saving my time and my money. And then that is just a little bit of a win there too. So
Yes.
we talked earlier,
Yes. You can
it's
bank some.
my time is worth something too. So thanks for the 25 that I didn't spend. I know one of the most important things that I've learned from Marianne in the last year, and it goes along with the same thought of more please, but she says, there, with more please, there is good and benefit and prosperity and abundance waiting for you. And if you can be in that place that you want it, you're ready to receive it, and you're ready to take the leap and believe it, it will come to you. And one of
Yes.
the things that happened for me is I worked a long time to get into Starbucks, a long time, and I'd send cookies. I don't know who was eating them, but nobody that I did business with was
They
eating them.
didn't send them back, so
So,
somebody was.
I think. And then through LinkedIn, I wrote in my ditty to someone, and then a week later, I got a call back from another person, and because I thought, oh, another miss. And this lady said, we want you to come to Seattle and meet with the team. And Mr. Sleeth gave me your information. I'm like, really? Oh my gosh. And so I got to Seattle, and honest to goodness, every single person that I had been trying to go after, director of facilities, director of construction, director of design, was sitting in the room. They were sitting in the room.
Mm.
And
Wow.
then we'd also been working on getting with a really big company, and I can't say their name from our non-disclosure, but think of a big river in South America. Huh. Anyway, that's anyway, one of the ladies that was in the Starbucks meeting who her department didn't need us, she'd gone to the big river company and called us.
Gotcha.
And yes. And so you never really know the how it's going to happen, but stay in that energy of more please and knowing that it's coming to you. Marianne, you say it better than I do.
No, I don't. I don't. You said it just perfectly, but it's we are so used to giving, and we are so used to, you know, giving ourselves, giving our time, our talents, our energy, we have to be open to receiving. And when we can open our hearts and we can share from that place of making a connection by giving our love, but then receiving. So opening up to, oh my goodness, I've done all these things and I've planted all these seeds. I've cast all these wonderful and made all these wonderful connections and relationships by loving and loving on the world. And then I can open myself up to receiving, and you don't know where it's going to come from. So you go, more please, and just allow your cup to overflow. um there was this thing I made for Sue, this picture, and it had a big cauldron cup, and I put on there love and money and um health, and so if you can imagine that being your cup of your life, and then it overflowing, and more please is just coming, from inside of you and flowing out into the world. That's what, I feel and I sense from that more please. It just is such a, so more sales, more connections, more love, more opportunities for you to, I can remember, Sue, when I moved to North Florida, and I moved from South Florida to North Florida, and it was like my world just, I went into quicksand. And I went from the land of milk and honey, where, just people I could walk, I resonated, I had friends I could do. And then I moved to this place where there was nobody, and I was like speaking French in a, place where everybody spoke Hickish, sorry, and I didn't speak the language. I was a coach 10 years before I moved here, and then nobody understood me. Nobody got me, nobody understood me. And it was an interesting time where I felt like, how could I like lift myself out of this quicksand? And part of that is you just start loving on people. You just start loving and sharing who you are. You're not going to be for everybody. You're not going to be for everybody, and stop trying to be for everybody, right, Sue? It's like, you aren't going to be everybody's friend. And when you live authentically, you sit there and share your gifts. And as Sue says, share your magic. Um, you will attract those people when you're ready to receive. So the more please is a huge tool to take the sales, move it, get into action, get into using and making those conversations and fill that funnel. And then they're going to start dropping out the other side.
I want to go back to what you just said and what we've talked about before, and that's being authentic. So uh, at the end of the meeting with Starbucks, when everybody I wanted to do business with was in the room, I got to the car and I went, oh my God, I forgot to ask for the next steps or to ask for their business. I can't tell you how dumb I felt. I remember sitting in the parking lot of Starbucks corporate headquarters, which was a step in itself, pounding on the steering wheel and going, oh, Sue, what? So what I did, I wrote them all an email and thanked them. And I was really honest in the email. And I said, I didn't ask for next steps. And that was kind of embarrassing to me. So could I ask you now, what are the next steps? And and so it's okay to not be perfect. It's okay to be really authentic. And so it's okay also to say in the sales presentation, I'm a little nervous. Or
Mhm.
you be yourself, because that's more honest, and that's who we want to do business with, not someone who's so slick that we can't trust them. And so
Yes.
it's okay to be yourself and to admit, like I just told you, I was thinking about this a moment ago. I just told you all that I got fired more than once, actually. I hope you still want to maybe work with me.
Hey, we've all had those. We've all had those rejections and those, and that leads us to the next step. And that
Well, it
leads us
did, and it
to, if you didn't
helped me
get fired, you wouldn't be who you are now, building a multi-million-dollar business, and have built a multi-million-dollar business. So thank goodness they fired you,
yes, exactly.
you know?
But it's okay to be really real and to say, I'm nervous, or I'm not sure I understood what you just asked me. And one of the things that I think is really important also is if someone asks you something in a presentation or even in your life, it's okay to say, I don't know the answer to that question, but I'll find out. But I do know this. I do know that we will serve you so well. We will take good care of you, or my product is wonderful. It will really help you, or you'll have fun, or whatever it is. We're talking about, I do business with Fortune 500 companies, and I don't want that to be intimidating, because all of the things we've talked about apply to any type of taking your product forward. And so it's okay to say, I don't know how I compare to other massage people. Let me find out to answer your question and my technique, but I do know this. All my clients have been really happy, and I promise to love on you. Maybe that wasn't the right word for massage.
No, I like that. Well, but there is an element of love on a massage. It's bring the best energy, bring the best, as you're moving. Because I'm a massage therapist, so I don't think that's a bad way. Loving on somebody can be just that you're showing up fully and completely in the moment. It does not have to mean that you're gonna seduce them into, so I love that. Um, So as we wind up, is there anything that you, last imparting words that you want? And I want to let everybody know that you've got a gift for them. So is there last imparting words that you really want to impart and give?
I do. Please.
Good.
First of all, thank you for having me. And second, this woman, Marianne, is amazing. I can't say enough thanks to her and recommend her enough. She truly has kept me on track starting a new business and remembering to love myself. And I think the other thing is that the whole idea of women's sovereignty and our legacy, it's the coolest thing and we all are doing it. And don't doubt that each of us was brought here to give our gifts to someone, and that maybe we have a product that other people have, but there are people out there who need to hear it from you and from me. And that's part of
Mm-hmm.
our legacy, is acknowledging that and taking it forward and knowing that how we love ourselves and how we go forward is our legacy.
Mm. And it creates that ripple effect that will, we kind of, I kind of say that, there's no better time to be alive than right now. The world is changing. In these times of COVID, it has got us to slow down. But as we begin to understand what we do right here today is creating a ripple that's going to last, whether or not it's in your families, whether or not it's your product, um, who you're being and who you're calling yourself forward to be and how you're showing up in the world is impacting the world more than you think. So,
And don't
um,
forget more, please.
more
And connect to your
please,
own
more
life, your own
please.
tool, to know that you, the universe wants you to prosper and have fun and live with ease and joy.
Yeah.
Ask for more, receive it, and say, more, please. Thank you. Yeah. And more, please. So,
Yes, yes, Sue. Yes. So Sue has a gift for you, and the link will be on this page down under or above her bio. And so you want to tell them a little about that so that they can make sure they go get it.
yes, it's
And
not quite posted yet. So,
it's okay. This
consider
isn't
your
posted
Christmas
yet.
or New Year's gift. But it's two things. One is that it's a checklist with some hopefully words of wisdom for you to go through a checklist with ideas and thoughts to create your why and also identify your core values. I think it can be used not only in starting your sales process, but also building your brand and being aware of your legacy. So I'm really proud of it because I think it's a multi-purpose tool. And the second part is a free 15 minutes um, consultation with me, and I'll send you cookies.
So if you don't understand what that gift is, let me just tell you. So Sue has built multi-million dollar companies with by
From
herself. Basically, she has a team now, but she did it by herself.
yes,
She understands. She has Fortune 500 companies as her clients. So the gifts of having Sue help listen and deeply listen to what's going on with yours and help you set up a sales strategy, take advantage of that 15 minutes
thank
call and get on there before her schedule is filled and going into the new year. And but she's allowed some places just for you here on this conference. She's put some spots on her calendar, so make sure you get on there before. How many spots are you allowing?
15.
10? 15? Okay, that's
And
so
you'll
generous.
see a little bit
That's
of
so
information
generous.
on my company. This company that I'm launching is called Prosper Kindly. So if you go to www.prosperkindly, all one word, .com, you'll see a little bit of information.
Yes, yes. And the link will be down in the description. Go and, there's no better teacher than somebody who's done it. You know, there's people out there who, you know, say that they're great salespeople, but learning from a woman who built a company in a man's world, she has so much to offer at bringing the feminine and bringing the masculine, which is the action, but yet the cookies and the nurture and the heart and everything. So Sue really does bring those two together.
Thank you,
And
Marianne. Thank
you're
you.
welcome. You're welcome. So much love to everybody.
And
Look
thank you for
for,
having me. Thank
yes,
you.
yes. Thank you for being here and sharing your wisdom. And everybody stay tuned for um, tomorrow's guest. And just remember to take these things in. Know that it's something to apply to everything, both your personal and your business. Everything that Sue said on selling and everything can be applied to you with your looking for a new mate. It can be applied to looking at, you know, interviewing for your child's school. So make sure that you listen from a broad place at how you can use these tools and ask anybody for anything because you definitely can. I know
And you
you
deserve it.
can. And there you go. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. And until